What is up, my friends? We are here on another episode of Level After Next podcast, where every week we're going to be your accountability. We're going to give you the inspiration. We're going to hopefully make you laugh a little bit. And at the end, you're going to have every desire to go forth and slay. So let's do this. Well, I'm really excited to have you here. And I was going through your bio. Yes, you were a collegiate athlete, All-American collegiate athlete, football player. What position did you play?
I was the offensive center and the long snapper. So I was the only guy that touched the ball on every play. I like to call it the MVP position, but not everybody's on board with that.
I mean, that hardly matters what others want to say, right?
It's my version of my story. It's, they can control the facts. I can control the story that goes with it.
Exactly. I love that. And so then you played professional football, 2 world championships, 96, 97.
We went to the world championships. We didn't win them, but we went to the game, but came home in second place.
But you played in the game. You didn't just go.
If you're not first, you're last, right?
As long as we're telling storytelling, but you actually played in them. That's huge. Yes. That's a big deal.
Yeah, right.
It's really interesting too, because I always feel like there's just something bigger in control of these interviews, right? And so while I cannot wait to get into what all you do with the extraordinary life and everything that you have available, it's also very interesting to me because I am dealing with a young athlete right now with a very limited mindset. And I'm like, oh, I have to pick his brain at some point. It's a struggle. I can only imagine as an athlete.
Yeah, we can talk about it and address it in a more generic sense, so that if he ever listens to it, and I think that really when it comes down to it, that limited versus growth mindset is something that all of my listeners, you cannot hear it or go through it enough. I'm 51 and I'm still learning how to do it.
Exactly. Every day in different situations, you have to make that choice. So let's go back a little bit. Okay. 96, 97, you're world champions.
Or second place world champions. We're in the game, at least.
You're in the game. And what came next? What came next? How now are we in coaching and writing books and really creating these amazing programs? I have it sitting in front of me right now, which is what I keep looking down at. And I will be taking notes because, as my listeners know, I have a raging ADHD. And if I don't write something down, I will have no idea what I was about to say to you. And it was definitely important. So.
Very cool. Yeah. I'll give you plenty of jotter downers. So if I don't see you with your head down writing, I don't think I'm doing my job.
Exactly.
All right. So, so my first sales job was basically selling myself into professional football. So I wasn't a highly recruited athlete. I played a thing called 8-man football in Southern California. And then I ended up graduating a small high school, going into junior college, going into getting a scholarship to the University of South Dakota. Never been there, just ended up coming to South Dakota and ended up having a great career, went on, played arena football for 4 years. Then I ended up suffering what a lot of experts call a career-ending lack of talent. And I moved on to the world of sales. That was my first job coming out of college, and football was, I worked for a radio station selling advertising. Ended up becoming recruited by one of my advertising clients who owned a mortgage company. So I spent 6 years doing mortgages, only took 1 math class in college. So I never thought that I was prepared to do a lot of math, but my career thrived and I loved helping people. I loved partnering with referral sources. And so I learned the game of home mortgages at a high level, became a top producer, ended up becoming a branch manager, regional vice president, went on to becoming an owner of a mortgage company and had 3 different states, 17 offices.
Wow.
And then I decided that I wanted to go follow my dream of being a peak performance coach, what I call an extraordinary results coach, and committed what a lot of people would say is career suicide, because I had a really high paying job, but I was unfulfilled. And, I don't know if somebody's ever asked you this question, but they asked me this question and they said, David, do you feel like you're more successful than you are significant?
Mm,
Just let that settle in for a little bit. And I was more successful financially, vocationally, but I didn't feel like I was significant. And not to say that the mortgage industry can't be significant for some people, because you can have a lot of different areas. You can go to work someplace and not have to have significance in your career. But I felt like that I wasn't doing what I was called to do. I felt like I had talent, skills, and abilities that I wasn't leveraging in the proper vocation. So I decided to jump, and I crashed. I failed. I went out there and became an extraordinary results coach for mortgage professionals, mortgage brokers, real estate professionals, and then the market crashed.
mm,
So I was really good at what I did, but I wasn't good enough to outlast a failure like a massive mortgage
right.
crisis. I mean,
Like the
to give you,
economy.
yeah, I mean, to give you perspective, they say all the time, niches to riches or niches to riches. I don't know how you say the word correctly, but forgive me if I don't say it wrong. But I focused in on that niche of real estate and mortgage, and it went away. And my income went like this. My expenses were here, and I went through a big spanking machine, but I never walked away. I kept doing it. And that's one of the things that I've learned in the journey, is that people that want to see their extraordinary dreams achieved, you better be resolved. You better be committed to them, because you are going to experience some challenges. You're going to experience some failures. And um, that's what I started doing. 2006 was my first year full time doing extraordinary results coaching, or entrepreneur and executive coaching. And they haven't told me I was free to quit. So I've been doing that for almost 20 some odd years, and seen some amazing lives transformed, and worked with a ton of people from a lot of different backgrounds, and ended up writing a book in 2020 called Live an Extraordinary Life, and wrote an extraordinary life planner that I felt could be something that anyone and everyone could use if they wanted to get extraordinary results. And it's only 100, the book's only 100 pages. I thought I knew more than that, but I kept it short, sweet, and really feel proud about,
The
it's,
planner itself is free to download. Am I,
yeah,
or did I just like find the
no, you got it.
little
Yeah.
secret?
Yeah, it's a
I'm
free
so
gift.
excited. I love that. And you guys, it will be in the show notes, of course, along with all of the books and every other way to get a hold of David. But like, I love this. And I just want to, if we could just go back real quick,
Take me
because
back.
I think that I think that the thing that people don't, it's really hard to wrap your head around how low the lows can be when you are on this path of like purpose and finding the thing that's going to set you on fire and that you really do feel like you're supposed to be doing, and it's not always something that you can control, right? Like,
Mhm.
here you had this economic crash in real estate, and I remember it. Luckily, I've always benefited from that. but but that can feel so deflating and so like, I don't know. At some point, did you feel like, wow, I guess like maybe I made the wrong choice? Like, is this God, the fates, something
Mhm.
telling me that I'm doing wrong? Like, how did you stay in it and stay determined to continue? Because these things happen no matter what business or what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that more than anything, I felt a calling to it. And when you feel called to do something and you don't answer that call, I think that that's a painful life to live. It's almost like if you're in a hotel, and I don't know if you remember a wake up call, but they used to give you a wake up call. If you said, "Hey, I need to be up by 6 o'clock," they would ring that phone, and then finally they'd come up to your door and they'd pound on your door to get you up. And I felt like that was the calling that I had. And I also had a dream. I had a dream to make a massive difference in the world. I felt like I wanted to be more significant than I was successful. So I had to give up some of those financial dreams and those vocational identities that I had bought into for so many years. Um, and I had to go through the process of climbing my way back up. But I knew that you know, if my kids saw me settle, or if my kids and my family and friends and the clients that I had told all these, you know, principles to, if they saw me quit or climb into what I call the comfort cave, or just hang out in the valley of complacency, people do what people do, and that would have a ripple effect. And I wasn't willing to live with that ripple effect. And so Jim Rohn, one of my favorite mentors, virtually, he didn't know it, but he mentored me through a lot of his audio cassettes and videos and things. And he said something that said, you know, you may set out to climb the mountain and you may not climb the mountain. You may fail. But what you accomplish in climbing that mountain to the peak that you climb it to at the point of your death will cast a ripple and cast a shadow beyond the grave.
Hmm.
And that was my commitment. It was, you know, I may not recover from all this, but if I do, what a story it'll tell. And if I don't, people will see me climbing the mountain and they'll say, he never gave up. And I think that there's something to be said about that. Because, you know, you think about mountain climbers and climbing like Mount Everest, or, you know, I think it's K9 or whatever, the different K14, all those different big peaks. You know, sometimes the weather sets in and the climbers get trapped. Sometimes I saw a picture the other day where one of the Sherpas at Mount Everest had fallen through a crevasse. And the video is actually a video, showed him like hundreds of feet down this crevasse, and they were saving him through this rope, and it showed him, and then it like panned up, and it was like, oh my goodness, this guy's life was
Nauseating.
over. But
Yeah.
they got a rope, they got, you know, and that's one of the principles I talk about, is having a good team around you. So when you fall into that crevasse, or when the avalanche crushes you, you have somebody that's coming to look for you, and you have people around you that are caring for you so that they get you back up and you can recover. And that's what happened to me, is that I recovered, and yeah, had a lot of people's lives changed because of I was willing to fail my way forward, and I decided, you know, not to quit and make hard choices and all the things that go with it.
Yeah, there's a big shift that happens, and I know that, you know, I've experienced it because I've been a determined person for a long time. But it's easy to fall into that place where life is happening to you, and then that shift that can happen where you're actually able to appreciate the struggle. And, you know, it doesn't make the struggle itself that much easier, you know, but to
Mm-hmm.
know that you're going to figure out a way through it, or you're going to like weather the storm, or there's some way to get through it, is well, it's life changing, right? And so when you then had to shift gears, you know, having worked with real estate and mortgage in this area of coaching, um was that like, was it scary? I mean, did you feel like you were, I hate to use, I think that like imposter syndrome is such BS, because like we're all just like, everyone's just doing the same thing. And
Yeah.
especially those of us in entrepreneur, you know, in this world, trying to help other people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did that feel, I mean, what did that feel like to move from a career path and people where you knew exactly what their day to day was to an extent, and you knew what the
Yeah.
job was, to then working with really anybody outside? Um, and yeah, you were an entrepreneur, so I'm sure that there's that connection as well. But did it
Yeah.
change things for you?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a couple of things that came out of that. And I love the phrase that says, you know, it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And it was 2008, the mortgage crisis crashed. 2007, I had two back surgeries. I injured my back playing basketball, had two back surgeries. So I was busted and disgusted. I mean, I was busted physically, mentally, financially, vocationally. Like 2008, I don't want to repeat it, but I wouldn't trade it either,
Right,
you know,
right.
because it was something that really taught me a lot. And it was the bounce. It was, you know, coming off of that bounce of the failure. 2009, I ended up losing 100 pounds, just making a decision that my health was getting worse because I was self medicating through all the pain. So what happened in that was 2009, I ended up getting healthier than I had ever been, ever. I weighed less in 2009 than I did when I was a freshman in high school. I graduated high school 327 pounds, so I was a big
Wow.
kid. But I overcame something that I never thought that I was going to find victory, because I had lost weight a lot of different places, but I just kept gaining it back. So I achieved a dream that I had never been able to have success in, because I was so fed up that I just put my mind to it, and I learned how to live a healthy lifestyle. And I had this huge, amazing physical transformation, which led to a lot of other people deciding to get healthier because I got healthier. My dad lost 42 pounds and ended up, came off half his diabetes medication. My brother got healthier. All of a sudden, all these mortgage people and real estate people that I was coaching, that they were self-medicating, they got healthier.
Hmm.
And I started thinking about my thing that was the worst thing in my life, which was my health, became my greatest opportunity to help other people. So I think that your weaknesses can turn into your strengths. And then I went out there and I started doing speaking for insurance companies and financial services, never having any experience coaching those people. But I had a good story to tell, and I had some good experience, and I had some referrals that gave me some introductions. So I can remember being in front of about 1,000 insurance agents at a conference going, I don't know what any of these people really do. I asked questions, but I told my story in a way that I felt that they could resonate with it. And I got the highest speaking fee I had ever received, speaking to an audience that I didn't necessarily know a lot about what they did. And it goes to show me, and this is my point, is that Mark Twain has this great quote that says, "It's not what we know that gets us into trouble, Katie." He didn't say Katie, I did. It's
Oh
all
my,
the
that would have
things that
been
we
so cool though.
it's not what we know that gets us into trouble. It's all the things that we know for absolute certain that just aren't so.
Mm,
And that was the beginning. I think that, coming off of that, I thought, I no longer had a speaking stage. I no longer was the expert. I no longer was, I was the proven coach. I was working with, some of the top people in the industry. I was respected. I had this title. I had this identity that went with it. And then it all went away. And it was very humbling to start over again and try to rebrand yourself and, get the rejection and all the things that go with not having a name and not having an identity that is recognizable. But I got a fresh start, and I started to prove to myself I didn't have to have all that stuff. It was a total story that I made up in my mind
yeah.
about some facts. So the fact was I wasn't well known. The story I made up with it is that I wasn't valuable to talk to, or that people wouldn't value me. And the reality was they would value me more than the mortgage people would value me. So that's what started a process of that growth mindset of really being open and curious and not having that fixed mindset. And that shifted a lot of the coaching that I was doing, because I was a really good teller. As a coach, I could tell you what to do, and then I could tell you, just do it. But I wasn't a very good coach in terms of asking you, what do you want to do, Katie? And why? I was a poor listener. And so as I got more into the idea of, there's some stuff in our heads that are holding us back from extraordinary results. And if we don't get to it, you can get the very best to tell you what to do. But if you don't deal with the problem behind the problem, you're not going to achieve the results that you ultimately desire. So again, my tragedy led me to an awakening, which led me to better opportunities, better coaching, better outcomes. So yeah, I don't want to go back and repeat 2008, but I wouldn't trade it for anything
Right.
because of what it gave to me. So anyway, that's giving you more perspective on failure and pain, and why I wrote the book and created the planner, because a lot of it came out of the pain. A lot of it is the principles that I took from my journey and the journey I've coached others on, and just translated it into power. And it's been very, very fun to see other people implement it.
Yeah. Bigger the victory, harder the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And
Your
I
mess
mean,
creates your message, right?
yep,
Your test become your testimony.
all
So a
these
lot of those
things.
things played right into exactly what I was called to do.
I mean, I have a lot of notes already. I'm inspired to go write my own book, but I think it might be
You haven't
totally,
written a book yet, Katie?
I've written like seven.
Oh,
in my head.
you're just gonna. Well, we need to get that. That's this is a quote from
I
maybe
have not
Ghost.
published any of them, and I'm actually, yeah, no, it's like kind of the thing that is attacking my soul right
All
now.
right, this is the wake up call, listeners. I want you to encourage by reaching out to Katie and telling her all of these great stories that she's telling you on her podcast. And they now need to be moved to a written form or an audio version of that book.
It's all I want. It really is. It is overwhelming and scary though, you know? Like it's just that those thoughts of like,
It's
is
not
it
what you
enough?
know that gets you into trouble, Katie. Remember what Mark Twain told you? It's all the things that you know for absolute certain that just aren't so. It's not about the scary. Yes, it's going to be scary, but action translates fear into faith,
Yep.
right? So every action you take decreases the fear. So a lot of the things that we make up, and I had the same thoughts. So I'm just a little bit ahead because I overcame some of those fears because I thought we don't need another book on living an extraordinary life. There's plenty already out there, but one of the messages that really transformed it for me was a guy that helps people to create self-published books or published books. He said, but they don't have your story, David, and
Yeah.
your story matters, and Katie's story matters. And for what you can do right now in translating all of those 7 books and thoughts and ideas into a format, because if it's just your kids that read it,
Right.
it's worth it,
Right.
right? And if your
Totally.
friends read it and your family reads it and nobody likes it, at least you did it. And some people, there's books that weren't appreciated the first time they were written. Their
Mhm.
family and friends didn't like them, but people found them and they were treasures. And
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, nothing that I do is for some great amount of money or you know what I mean? It's just it's what I love and I agree. I but it's just interesting because that is absolutely like where my heart is at and has been the goal for a while. I've just only recently been feeling much more like I need to get on this and so you saying that is pretty hilarious.
7 months left in 2024. Time dating, stamping this. If you wrote a page a day, that's 30 times 7 is 210. To be a 210 page book, just a page a day. Might
Oh,
be an opportunity.
I wrote
Mine's
like
only 100 pages.
I wrote like 17 this morning. So
Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to read this book.
it's going to be all over the place just like I am. So, you know, get ready. Get ready for that.
That's all right. Hot Mess Express. I love it.
Right. Might be the title. It might be the title. I don't know. I don't know. That might be too common of a theme these days. I'll come up with something different.
It'll be level after mess.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. That's so awesome. I'll be writing that down as well. Oh my gosh. No. Okay, so tell me who are the people that you typically work with? Who is coming to you? I mean, I think that it took me a very long time to put myself in a category of someone who, and even when I finally did hire a peak performance coach, I I was like, I'm not sure if this is really for me, but you know, I want to be a peak performer. Um, I will also tell you that at the time I was like, yeah, I want to coach. And then when I started seeing everything that you guys do as coaches, I was like, I do not. This is why I stopped teaching. Like, I
Mhm.
love to talk, I love to educate, I love to support and help, but oh my goodness, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Coaching's a lot of work. So who are you working with? And you know, who can, should, may reach out to you? What would that look like?
Yeah, well, everybody can benefit from the resources that we share at theextraordinarylife.com in the show notes, of course. So I've made my resources available so that anyone that has a dream of a better life, opportunity, build a career, they can all benefit from the principles and the planner and all those things. So that's something that I want to encourage anyone and everyone to go check them out. The people that actually work with me in a coaching environment are typically those people that have um, experience in sales or in business, where they have a drive to grow their sales or grow their business. So it's usually independent contractors, commission only sales professionals, or small business owners. I've had a significant amount of success in all three of those areas. And obviously, if a person doesn't have a desire to be in sales or in business, but they have a desire to create extraordinary results and live a life of purpose and meaning and follow their calling, and they want to know of other people that have done it, my story just may be one of the puzzle pieces in the puzzle that they're assembling. And I think that they could gain something from what it is that I offer.
So help me kind of break this definition down because originally, is peak performance. I feel like my peak performance coach, although like in my head I was saying like, oh, he's my business coach, he's my business coach. He had to do a lot of like therapy with me as well. So really, I mean, it's kind of life coaching, business coaching. I mean, really, you can't have one kind of coaching without the other,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
would you say?
Yeah. So I like the definition. Dr. Robert Schuller said, when you climb to a new peak, you rise to a new altitude or a new level. And when you get to that new peak, PEAK, you get a peak, PEEK, at the next peak, PEAK. So if you think about going from peak to peak, yeah, that's kind of where I resonated with that, because I think that if you want to live an ordinary life, you don't oftentimes need a peak performance coach that gives you the tools, the tactics, the strategies, the mindset, the motivation to climb to a new peak. And you oftentimes are not interested in getting a new peak, a little glimpse of the next peak, because you're not interested.
Right.
Earl Nightingale said one time, people that are not interested in eating apple pie are surely not interested in the recipe for apple pie. I'm looking for people that are interested in
Recipe.
the recipe for extraordinary results. And oftentimes those people are people that are dreamers. They're people that have a desire to be, do, have something that they don't, or they'd like to get rid of something that they are currently doing, having, or being. And they're getting rid of some problems. And that's kind of the fun of coaching, is that you get a chance to address some of the problems behind the problems. And that's one of the things I address in the book, is that many people's problem is that they haven't decided to fail their way forward,
Mm,
or they haven't agreed to do hard things. They haven't made pain their friend. And I'm not David Goggins, where I'm all about, this crazy masochist, where everything has to be an absolute terror in your
right.
life. But, I used to avoid hard things. And I used to think of failure as the opposite of success, but now I understand it as the bridge. And if you don't fail and you don't learn from those failures, you will never succeed. Even if you succeed, if you don't fail and succeed because of your failure, you really haven't succeeded. You've only succeeded to a certain level of success that you thought was your highest potential or your highest peak. So giving people the peak, and sometimes I think that I grew up in a family where my parents gave me a peak at higher peaks. They showed me that that's possible to climb to a higher altitude. Um, and some people didn't. That's one of the things I found in coaching thousands of people, is that some people came from families where they were told that climbing to new peaks is bad. So they actually put blinders on and covered their eyes from being able to see those higher altitude peaks and where they could go and what they could do and what they were capable of accomplishing should they choose to pursue it. And having a chance to kind of walk that journey with people and overcoming some of the negativity and some of the noise that's constantly telling them, you know, Katie, that's too scary. Katie, that's just not a thing you should do. You're not good enough to do that. Nobody would want to read your book. Nobody would want to do the things that you're asking them to do. They're going against those things that were told to them, and they didn't even realize that it was something implanted or imprinted on them
Right.
without their permission. And so giving them those inspired beliefs and helping them to actually become awakened to the idea that they have been operating on a belief system. Like if you look at the word beliefs, spell out the word beliefs, and you'll see that the word lie is right in the middle, and it's surrounded by BS. And that's where
I
that's
haven't
where
heard that one before. That's
you are welcome. Jot. If I don't see your head down writing right now, I'm going to be so unimpressed with this level up next podcast.
I love it.
So yeah, so that would be my challenge to those that are listening today is that are you operating your life on beliefs that are filled with lies and surrounded by BS? And a great quote from a friend of mine named Dan said, an excuse is just a thin shell of truth stuffed with a lie.
Hmm.
And so giving yourself an excuse not to write the book, not to pursue your calling, not to go chase that dream, not to,
Ouch, David.
hey,
Ouch.
I didn't come here to be your friend. I came here to tell you the truth because the truth will set you free, Katie. And people need to hear. If you look at the statistics of America alone, 74% of Americans are overweight and obese. 700,000 people a year die from heart disease, a broken heart, which most of it is preventable. There's 100 million people that have prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and type 1 diabetes. They don't call it livabetes. And a lot of those things are because they just don't have any hope. They're not happy. They don't have help. They don't have somebody that's showing them that they can live a better life, that they can have the things that they want to have, they can level up. And it's oftentimes through the stories. And even Zig
Yeah.
Ziglar, the greatest motivational speaker, I think, of all times, or the most well-known one, said that most of his testimonials of people that said that they were transformed, it wasn't based upon the tapes and CDs and VHS. It was the books.
Yeah.
And
The truths
um,
and the stories, like you
yeah,
said,
the
that's
stories, the
absolutely it.
stories, and your story. More importantly, your story, because there's some, women, mamas out there that would absolutely love to do the things that you're doing, but they're scared. They're going to fail. They don't know what to do next. They're overwhelmed. They got their kids, doing whatever they're doing. They got stuff going on at home, their job, other things. They need to know that there's a possibility to level up. And
Absolutely.
your voice, podcast, all those things are fantastic. But what's even more fantastic, one more resource, one more
Yeah.
tool to help them. So
Okay. So your book, which will be my next purchase, what can we expect to find in it aside from obviously more of this gold? I'm like, how do you just hold a whole lot of information in your head, sir? And I think that I'm pretty good at that, but you've got like the names and the quotes and that like I like
I'm a
this.
student. I'm a student. I'm a student of the game. So,
Yeah.
they Malcolm Gladwell said, spend 10,000 hours doing something and you'll become a master at what it is that you do. And so 20 years of coaching individuals every year, reading, studying, writing, listening, watching, journaling, coaching, talking. I mean, it's a practice, right? It's a skill set. So, and like Jim Rohn said, listen to me very carefully, but don't watch me too close because I'm still trying to refine some of this stuff on my own. I've got a few more books that I'm looking to write too that need to come out of me.
Yeah.
But it takes discipline, it takes consistency, it takes commitment to get that information, it takes investment. So, so other things that they'll find in the resources in the book is the 4 H's. Number one, hope. They'll find more hope. And I used to say hope isn't a strategy, but if you don't have hope, you don't have anything. So I hope to give people hope. That's what I hope. I want to give them a sense of happiness. I want to bring their smile back, like in the movie City Slickers with Billy Crystal, where he goes off on that, wild, wild west tour and he's trying to get his smile back. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that are, where I was in 2008, they're busted and disgusted. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they don't really have a strategy or a system to start climbing the mountain to reach their next peak. So I give them a sense of excitement, motivation, a list of different dreams that they could be inspired with. And sometimes people need a little awakening. They need to let the clouds clear so they can see something that's worthy of leveling up to.
Yeah.
I offer them help. So I give them lots of educational resources. There's videos and things on the website that are, there's a whole workshop that goes with the Extraordinary Life series that they can access. And being able to help them, give them opportunities for hope, happiness, help, and health. Health, not just in the area of physical health, but
Right.
overall um, health is, in the grander definition of health is free of disease or the absence of disease. That's not the true definition of health. Optimal health is what I like to encourage people, or extraordinary health. Um, the average person in America is not healthy. So don't compare yourself to average,
Right.
because you're not going to be healthy. You may not have any sicknesses that you know about. You may not be on any medications. But if you're not thriving in physical, mental, financial, and vocational and relational well being, you're not healthy. And so challenging people to get healthy for a change. Start with one healthy habit. Start with something. Because when I lost that 100 pounds, it wasn't the 100 pounds. I had a broken picker. I was just picking the wrong things. I had a broken thinker. I was thinking the wrong things about food and drinks and all those things. And when I started thinking like a healthier person, my whole world changed. My kids got healthier, my wife got healthier, people around me got healthier. My whole world changed because I decided to get healthier. That was just one of the things that was holding me back from living an extraordinary life. So I tell a little bit about that story. And so if you struggle with your health and you've lost weight in a million different ways and you've said, I've tried everything, like I did. Okay, so maybe you did try everything, but you never decided to do
Right.
something, which is, I'm training myself. I'm no longer trying. I'm training myself to become a healthier person. I'm training myself to enjoy healthier foods. I'm training myself to think like a healthier, excited, hopeful person. You don't have to be that person, and you don't have to try to do it. Just train to do it. And what'll happen is that you will do it because you're training to do it, just like training to become a great coach. You don't just try to do it, you do it.
Just do it. Yeah. I think that is so huge when it comes to really, I mean, all kinds of health. When it comes to mental and emotional health, and I speak with people who are hoping or needing to have some form of therapy, it's the hardest part, I always say, is just picking the phone up and making a phone call. And
Mhm.
you might cry in that message that you leave for that therapist. But it's like that one thing, right? It's the commitment piece. And I think a lot of times in physical health, and even for myself, it's been okay, once I start this,
Mhm.
I'm committing to it. And that can be overwhelming. Do you think that is just like a battle we have to have with our brain to just be like, nope, doing it. Nope, doing it.
Well, again, commitment and making a decision doesn't necessarily have to be a lifelong decision. Just like in recovery, it's make the decision for today. Like I haven't decided not to drink for the rest of my life, but today I've decided not to, and I won't today. But
Right.
tomorrow, I'm not promising tomorrow because
Yeah.
I can't control tomorrow, but I can control today. And if you control the controllables, which you you can control the controllables, and you can learn from failing forward. It's not an absolute. Like, with making healthy choices, you don't have to exercise every day. You don't have to eat healthy every single day to get healthier. You just have to eat healthier more times than you eat unhealthier. And there's a whole process that you can use to start making those choices. And if you start stringing habits together, there's some amazing transformation that can take place in just the next 30 days. That's what happened for me, is that I told myself for 30 days I was going to make a healthier choice. And I just took it day by day for 30 days. And I wasn't perfect, but at the end of 30 days, I was motivated because of the results that I got. And so I just did it for another 30 days and another 30 days. And 15 years later, I'm still taking it one day at a time with little 30-day chunks as kind of like a focal point. That's my peak to
Yeah.
peak. Every month, every quarter, every year is just a new peak. And if I keep my eyes, and I'll wrap it up with this, but I want to walk you through this exercise. So if you're driving a car and listening to this, do not follow what I'm saying, but you get the general point. So if you look down at the floor or look down at the ground, down being below your eye level, that's all of your past. It's all the things you should have done, you could have done, you would have done. It's everything in the past. And then I want you to look straight up and look eye level. So I'm looking right at Katie. Um, and that's your current reality. That's where you are today. And what most people go through life is they go through life looking down. Every once in a while they look up, and then they look down again. But this is where it gets a little weird. And it's if you look up at the sky, or you look up at the ceiling and you think, that is what I want to be, do, and have. That's what I've been called to be, do, and have. That's where my dreams reside, at that next level or that next peak. How often are you looking up? How often are you focusing in on the peak and reminding yourself of the reasons of why to get to that peak? And if you look up more, you won't be looking down more. And where I find a lot of people is that they're looking down and they're shooting all over themselves. I should have eaten healthier. I should have written the book by now.
I had a therapist who told me that.
I should have
like, Katie, stop shooting all over yourself.
So
that's true.
That's a great point to wrap up with. But thanks so much.
No, this has been so great. Thank you, David. Thank you for everything that you provide. I just think it's beautiful when people are so willing to just share helpful things. And your planner is amazing. I'm going through it, like I said, and I can't wait for the book. Everything is going to be linked in the show notes. Get the book, get in touch. Are you sharing anywhere specifically on social media that people can follow?
Yeah, if you go to the website, there's all of our socials are on there.
Perfect.
So they can find all the socials there. And yeah, if you are so willing to share this podcast and tag Katie and get the word out that more people can live an extraordinary life, and so can you, and invite people to join you in living an extraordinary life. Like, hey, I need to level up and I'm looking for other people who want to level up, and people do what people do. So if you start doing it and you invite other people to do it, there's a better chance that you'll do it and that they'll do it. So
it's way more fun. It's way more fun too. You got some peeps with you. So amazing. Thank you so much, David. This has been an honor. I've got a whole chapter written on you already. So thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, there it is there. Thank you so much for joining us today on Level After Next podcast. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Or if you really don't want to have any FOMO, head over to levelafternext.org where you can catch up with all the things. Peace out.